Oh, that's right. It's Thursday afternoon right here at Sharp Facets Gallery, and today it is my great pleasure to have Solicitor Jerry Peace with us. And of course, he is running for re-election. And of course, Jerry, you just got back from New York City. Got another one, graduated from college, huh?
I did. My baby graduated.
Your baby graduated. Pretty exciting, and you just got a phone call.
I did. She was extremely excited. She was just offered a position at the National Review.
That's pretty exciting.
It is. It's a great opportunity for her.
And so she's going to be staying up there in New York City?
Unfortunately, she will be staying there.
As a dad, how does that make you feel?
Well, I don't know how you get from little Greenwood, South Carolina up to New York City, but she found the way, and it looks like she's going to stay for a while.
Well, good for her. That'll be quite an experience. Of course, New York and everything is under so much change, aren't they?
It is. It certainly is.
And you were just telling us that today is Confederate
Memorial Day. It's actually a state holiday. We have court this week in both Greenwood and Lawrence, and of course we're not having court today because the judge and the court reporter are state employees.
You know, maybe it's not such a bad idea to be a state employee here now.
Well,
I didn't even know about that holiday.
Technically, I'm a state employee, but I'm at work.
You're at work, yeah. How about your staff? I'll bet they're at work today, too.
They're at work. It's not a county holiday, and they're county employees.
So
I work when my employees work.
Absolutely. Now, of course, you went to Wofford College graduated in 1973. You went to University of South Carolina Law School, graduated in 76. And what have you done since all that time?
Well, I went straight from law school into the Army, and I was in the Judge Advocate General's Corps. It was my honor to serve our nation for 20 years in the United States Army.
And what exactly did you do?
Well, I was in the Judge Advocate General's Corps, and you have multiple assignments. I've been a prosecutor, I've been a defense counsel, I've been a deputy staff judge advocate, which means that you train and supervise and handle people and you handle budgets. I was a regional defense counsel where you do the same thing. I had the Southeast region, which covered posts from North Carolina to Alabama to Florida to the Virgin Islands.
So Greenwood's small comparatively.
Comparatively, but Greenwood's a great place to live.
Absolutely. So experience-wise, when it comes to working in the court systems, you know how to do it all.
I know how to do it all. The Army prepared me for this, and as a matter of fact, the solicitor's office is a little smaller than organizations that I have supervised in the past.
How many people work with the solicitor's office?
Right now we have 32. We had a high 38, but with budget cuts, we have whittled down to 32.
And how does the future look for, speaking of the budget, since they're working on the budget down there as we speak?
As we speak, it is spotty, and it's spotty for a couple of reasons. Last year we were fortunate enough to get $1.5 million as one-time money, which means we just got it last year for this year.
And that was for the state?
That was from the state.
For the state? I mean, it wasn't just for Greenwood. It was
no, that was for the state. Yeah, right. $1.5 million to be split among the 16 different circuits, and we requested that same funding with recurring funds for this year. Unfortunately, it was not approved by the House. It has not been approved by the Senate yet, but we still have some hope that because they just discovered they had over $200 million more dollars that they might fund us in that regard.
Wait a minute, they just discovered this?
Well, yeah, they do quarterly projections, and I guess they just did a new projection and had funding. The tax collections are higher than they expected. And unfortunately, because of the census, the 2010 census, we're due to lose some funding because much of our funding from the state is on a per capita basis. Mm-hmm. And of course our population only grew by about 1,000 people over a 10-year period, although the state population grew by 15%, but it was mostly along the coast and up around Rock Hill. So we will lose some funding because of that, but we don't know how much yet.
Now that's surprising, because I thought that we had more retirees moving into our area.
Well, we didn't have over 1,000.
Wow, I had no idea. I thought ours was higher than
Yeah,
that.
we went from 198,000 to 199,000 in the 4 counties. You know, the 8th Circuit is Abbeville, Greenwood, Lawrence, and Newberry.
Absolutely. Now, of course, so that's one part of it. But the other part, you came on back in December, talking about the 1.6 million to prosecute domestic violence. Now, that's separate from the other. That actually, you told me, if I remember correctly, usually is prosecuted in magistrate's court.
That is, it is primarily for use in magistrate's court. And what happened several years ago, the solicitors recognized this as a problem area, and we were successful in getting $1.6 million from the legislature specifically for CDV prosecution. And we were funded in that manner for 2 years. And then when the budget cuts started coming, that was some of the first money to be cut. Fortunately, the Prosecution Commission was able to obtain grant funding in the same amount for CDV prosecutions, and that funding runs out this summer. It was a 3-year grant. We're in the 3rd year of a 3-year grant. Because the grant was running out, we specifically requested $1.6 million. And the House passed a $1.5 million appropriation.
So now that has to go to the Senate?
Has to go to the Senate, and the Senate is in the middle of considering the budget now.
You know, domestic violence, that's one of your big feelings about it being prosecuted and not letting them, I'll say the word, off the hook.
Well, I mean, it's one of the most dangerous things that we deal with. And you read monthly about some domestic situation escalating in somebody getting killed. You know, a deputy or a spouse.
We've got a case on that right now, don't you?
Yeah, we do. Exactly, we do. And it's dangerous. It's dangerous. And in almost every case after it happens, the wife comes and wants us to drop the charges and just doesn't understand when we say, no, we're not doing that. That it's too dangerous, that it escalates and you'll be killed.
Yeah, it just, and we've seen this over and over. It's a pattern. You know, but now, of course, you are the commission chairman for the state.
I am. I have the honor of being the chairman of the Prosecution Commission.
Absolutely. So hopefully that will be able to continue. That's a big part of keeping things safe. If that money is not there, though, you won't be able to continue. I think we had that discussion before.
Exactly. I don't have any magic money that I can use for this prosecution. So we're hopeful, because it's in the budget from the House, that the Senate will not take it out, that they will fund that important program.
So that would be something that would continue. But, you know, that's just one of the things that you have worked on over your term. Now, you have been the solicitor here since...
I was elected in November 2004, took office in January 2005, so I'm...
Pass the torch from Towns.
Exactly. You know, it was in the Jones family for 52 years, and I mean, we owe a debt of gratitude to the Jones family for the sacrifices they made and for their effort to keep our community safe.
Absolutely. So, and actually it was Towns that brought you into this area.
He did. Just out of the blue, I was down at Fort Gordon, and because of a reference a friend of mine from the Army made, Towns gave me a call and asked me to come up for an interview, and the next thing I know, I'm working in the 8th Circuit. The next thing I know, I'm the solicitor.
It has been good, hasn't it?
It's been great. This is the highlight of my legal career, being able to serve the people of the 8th Circuit, to be able to lead a dedicated and passionate staff whose only objective is to do justice.
You know, I think it's hard with staff, though, isn't it, Jerry? Because you deal with young professionals just getting their first bite at the apple at working in prosecution.
That's a lot of it. We are fortunate right now. We probably have the most experienced staff that we've had since I have been in the office. I've been in the office 15 years this summer. We have a lot of experience. For the first time since I've been here, we do not have a brand new lawyer. Everybody has at least 2 years experience, and more importantly, over half of the lawyers in the office have 8 or more years experience.
That's tremendous.
It is outstanding. I mean, it means that you get the maturity, you get the passion, you get the hard work. We have a couple of lawyers who have more than 20 years experience, several between 10 and 20, and then like
and still they stay with the solicitor's office?
Yes, yes. I mean,
why is that, Jerry? Because they could go on and make money someplace else, more money.
They could go on and make more money. It's just because of their dedication. They want to serve the community, and you have folks like this who money is secondary to them. They have a passion to serve the community and to do justice.
Well, that's quite a statement to you that they would stay with it and that they would have that commitment in times where the money isn't. You're not making as good a money as you could in the private sector.
Well, I mean, I would like to take credit, but it may be in spite of me that they do this.
Well, you hired them, didn't you, Jerry?
I did.
And you've got to have a work environment that makes them want to stay.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true. Well, listen, we are here with Solicitor Jerry Peace. He is up for re-election. In fact, he'll be in a primary runoff coming June 12th, maybe. With the news that's out there today about they may be changing that date simply because of all the people that are no longer on the ballot. There's a lot of question going on as to when that's actually going to happen.
Right. I mean, that was an unfortunate occurrence.
Absolutely.
While the Supreme Court is technically correct, practically it's not the best thing for the citizens of the state.
Absolutely. I mean, I agree with you. And the thing about, did you hear about the ballots that they were sending overseas? There's a question about whether they didn't have all the people on the ballot. So issues going on that.
No question. You know, they had the federal races on the ballot, but not the state and local races, and I guess that has raised another issue that has to be dealt with by the courts.
Sure. And of course, you know, we're not actually, I guess South Carolina has some shadiness when it comes to things going up to the Justice Department, so we'll see where that goes. Well, we should take a break, but I think we just got a question. Let's go ahead and see what this says. Bill Lauter. His brother-in-law was a repeat domestic abuser in Tennessee, moved here, and he was sent to jail for the first time here. He says thanks.
Well, you're more than welcome. I mean, like I say, this is a difficult area, and we try to hold everybody's feet to the fire just because of what can happen. And we have dedicated criminal domestic violence prosecutors who have a passion and who want to see justice done.
Now, not only do you have your prosecutors, but you have your investigators. You have a whole staff on that too.
We do. I mean, we have 32 people on staff, and we have 3 investigators for the circuit. And you know,
they have to be overworked then.
There's no question.
3
about
investigators
that.
for the whole.
Exactly. Luckily, I mean, we have some outstanding law enforcement agencies who do a fabulous job in investigating the cases, and so many cases require very little follow-up. Our investigators, you know, just close some loose ends and track down the witnesses just because of the time difference between the time the case is made and the case is called for trial or the case is disposed of. And so they do a lot of tracking folks down. And this is a big area to have to track folks down.
Absolutely. Well, we are here with Solicitor Jerry Peace. We are going to hear a quick word from our sponsors. We'll be right back. Don't you go away. Hey, if you've got a question or a comment on Solicitor Jerry Peace, how about give us a call, 229-7984. That's 229-7984. That's right. We are right back here at Sharp Facets Gallery on the 72 bypass. This is Meet Me at the Diner. Yes, I'm Ann Eller, and yes, I'm here with Solicitor Jerry Peace. Hey, you know, anytime you want to call Jerry Peace, you know how he answers his phone? Peace. But I haven't heard him say, and love. Isn't that right, Jerry? You do say peace.
I do, yeah.
So, you know, we were just talking off air here just a second ago about, I think when you were back in December, there was a little question about some people being a little bit upset up there in that Lawrence area had to do with a car being stolen or something, an SUV or truck, something?
That's right. I mean, there was a trailer and some type of vehicle stolen up that way. We actually had a community meeting at the West Lawrence Fire Department. The sheriff was there, I was there, county councilman was there, and we discussed issues with the citizens, and it gave me an opportunity to explain what happens in a case. You know, it's easy to get a warrant because you're only dealing with probable cause, but by the time you get to us and we get ready to take it into court, it has to be proof beyond a reasonable doubt. So it gave me an opportunity to explain the process to folks, and I guess that's the big problem that we have. Most folks don't understand the court process at all, unless you've been a victim or a defendant. You know, both of those understand it to a certain degree, but it's confusing, and it's a mystery to just the man on the street.
So and then you were telling me that sometimes, particularly up there in Lawrence, I guess they have the media sometimes doesn't cover things exactly, not on purpose, but by omission.
Well, I mean, here's what happens. One of the newspapers prints the results of a court term. And so you see a case where somebody's charged with something and they've gotten time served or they've gotten probation, but you don't know how you reach that result. And I'll use a drug case as probably the perfect example. You see somebody got probation on the drug case. Well, normally there's a reason for that, because my position on drugs is if you deal with drugs, you ought to go to jail. I mean, that's it. You deal with drugs, you ought to go to jail. And so if somebody's gotten probation or time served, it's generally because that person's been a confidential informant, or they've given the information that's been helpful, or it could be a bad case. Like I say, it just takes probable cause to make an arrest, and when we review and evaluate the case, maybe it's not a good case, and maybe probation or time served is a good resolution. Another thing is we're seeing more and more cases, and probably I would guess over half the cases plead what we call straight up, which means there's no negotiation with the state, there's no recommendation. They just go in and throw themselves on the mercy of the court, and they take whatever the judge gives them.
Why does that happen?
Well, it happens because they know with some of the judges they're going to get a lot less time than we're offering. And, you know, defendants know the judges. And a great example is a couple of months ago we had a term of court here in Greenwood. And I told my drug prosecutor I wanted him to just keep a list of all the drug cases that pled during that term of court. There were 30 cases that pled straight up.
They didn't even go and...
27 of them got probation. 27 drug cases got probation.
So the judge made the decision to give probation.
The judge made the decision, and there's...
Is there anything you can do about that?
Absolutely no. A defendant has a right to go in and plead without negotiation, without a recommendation. That's their right. And I think part of it is that there's this move afoot saying that we have too many drug addicts in jail.
Okay.
And so that's filtering down somehow. And again, I'm telling you, anybody who deals drugs needs to go to jail.
Do we need that? Maybe we should have a separate jail just for drugs.
We might should. I would support that.
Yeah, maybe they could really control it. But so the real issue here is when somebody is saying that maybe you're not tough enough on crime. On some parts of this, you have nothing to do with it.
Yeah, I mean that's true. To say that I'm not tough enough on crime is almost ludicrous. I mean, I'm retired from the Army. I'm one of the most conservative individuals that you'll ever meet. I guess our motto as the office that anybody who needs to go to jail should go to jail. I mean,
how do you make that decision?
Well, I mean, here's the thing. You get a case and you evaluate the case, and it's not like you can wave a magic wand and a genie jumps out and gives you the answer.
Sure.
That doesn't happen. You can't put the information in a computer and have the computer spit out an answer. I mean, it's not black and white. You look at the case and you evaluate the case. But you don't only evaluate the case as that particular case, you have to evaluate that case with the big picture, the almost 7,000 other cases that we get in. And it might be a case that in a perfect world, somebody should go to jail for 5 years. But you're only sending them to jail for 3 years because we don't have the court time to try a case for a 2-year difference. And it's subjective. Everything we do is subjective. And do we make the right decision in every case? Well, I hope so. I hope we do. I know that we make the best decision that we can at the time with the information we have and the other factors and variables.
Sure. So, and then it comes down to the issue of cost, doesn't it? For the courtroom and all of this and backing up our courtrooms and this type of thing. The very fact that a lot of them choose to plead, like you were just saying in the drug cases, alleviates some of the stress of the courts.
It does. And, I mean, here's the thing. You know, we talked about the 8th Circuit being in the Jones family for 52 years. Well, when something is being run the same way for 52 years, when I became solicitor, one of the things I did after I was elected, I visited a number of other solicitors' offices to see how they did things, to see if there were ways that we could become more efficient and do things better and just to see how other things were running.
And there was just an office in Greenwood, was that correct?
That's one. Yeah, we were just staffed in Greenwood, and I handled Lawrence and Newberry when I was the deputy and chief deputy. When we had court and we had 18, 20 weeks of court, we'd pile up the vehicle and drive over, do court for 2 weeks, pile it up and drive back. You know, I thought that was inefficient and it wasn't effective. I thought we needed a presence in Lawrence County. We needed attorneys there and staff there so law enforcement could come by, talk about cases. It would just be more efficient. We could get cases done quicker, and it would just be a good relationship. And so now the Lawrence office is fully staffed. I have 4 attorneys, administrative assistants, and a victim advocate.
Does it make you more efficient?
It does. It does.
And so, therefore, the cost is warranted?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, I mean, there's no difference in cost because the people would be here in Greenwood anyway.
And you know, don't you think the difference is you can't do a lot of this stuff by email? You have to have face-to-face time, don't you?
You do, and you know, and back in those days, of course, we didn't have cell phones, so you were just using your office phone and talking to them on their office phone, and I just didn't think it was as effective as it could be, and that's why I had the office. And so the Lawrence office is staffed, the Newberry office is staffed.
And as far as what is happening with cases and everything, how much time elapses in cases from the time of serving a warrant or having a warrant and going to court anymore?
It just depends. It's usually probably 18 months, 12 to 18 months at best.
At best?
At best. I mean,
wow.
Here's what has happened as time has progressed. In the old days, we could have the defendants come in and they sat in the courtroom for the entire term of court unless they were excused. Mm-hmm. And we would excuse those defendants who had jobs. We didn't want to lose their job. You know, there's some cases that we can't prove they might be not guilty.
Sure.
But if they were working, we'd let them go. But if they weren't, we had them wait in the courtroom. And that was helpful to us because we could deal with their cases, and they were aggravating their attorneys to get them there to deal with their case.
Get it disposed of. Right.
Well, the Chief Justice has set up a system so defendants aren't in the courtroom anymore during court. Now, what that causes us to do is get more cases ready for trial. If you're a defendant, you're not sitting in the courtroom, you're not thinking about your case. If you're walking down Main Street, you're not guilty every day.
Right.
So they know that they can come in and say, hey, I'm not guilty, I want a trial. And so we prepare the case for trial. And this week's a great example. Yesterday's a great example. We had 2 cases ready to call for trial. Mm-hmm. Both of them said, hey, I'm just joking. I don't want a trial. I want to plead. And so we require both the defendants go plead straight up in front of the judge. You know, we didn't have any negotiations, no recommendation on sentence, so they both pled straight up. And we do that with the hope that they will receive a harsher sentence the longer they wait. And sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But it still causes, not only the prosecutor has to get the case ready for trial, the defense counsel does too.
Sure.
And so a defendant has a right to plead not guilty, a defendant has a right to plead guilty. And so these cases yesterday, the defense counsel had prepared the cases, the prosecutors had prepared the cases, we've got the jury sitting there ready to be picked. Nope, I want to plead guilty. And so that's inefficient.
And that happens more than once or twice.
Well, and it happens more and more because we don't have the defendants in the courtroom where they're thinking about their case. We have the defendants walking down Main Street where they're guilty. They're not guilty every day until their case is called. And of course, the juries don't realize this because they're sitting there. Yesterday they sat while we got the paperwork done and did all the administrative stuff. Well, they're sitting over there thinking, well, what's going on? I've been sitting here for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, or an hour, and nothing's going on. This is inefficient. Now, luckily, yesterday was the last day where we were using the jury for this week, and I was able to explain that to them. I can't do it on Monday when they come in. That might influence the jury, but I can do it when they leave. And they walk away with that understanding. And it's aggravating because I have a number of attorneys who work 2 counties. So they'll have 30, 32 weeks a court a year. They don't have a lot of time to prepare cases. They all do. Every term of court, our lawyers are there ready to go, ready to call cases for trial. And we will try those cases that need to be tried.
Well, now, Jerry, is there a way to change that, or that comes from?
That's a reflection of.
That's not something that you have set up.
No, absolutely not. It's something that just galls me to no end. But it's what our Chief Justice has directed, and it will take a new Chief Justice for that to change. Now, the Chief Justice we have is probably one of the most effective Chief Justices we have ever had.
Who is that?
It's Chief Justice Jean Toll.
Okay.
And she had dragged the judiciary or judicial system from the 17th century, kicking and screaming into the 21st. She's big on computerization and technology, and she's done an outstanding job in that regard in getting us computerized and where we need to be. But this is one area, one area where I just disagree. And we have meetings, and every time we have a meeting, and I'll bring it up, and she'll beat me up, and
she still says we're going to do it the way we're doing it, right?
That
makes a difference in how defendants react, right?
No question. Okay. If they're not in court, they're not guilty.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we are here with Solicitor Jerry Peace. I think it's invaluable to sit down and find out, because so many people have questions about how things run. And like you said, if you're not in the middle of it, if you're not a defendant or if you're not a victim, you don't understand it as well as those that work it every day.
That's right. That's absolutely right.
So let's hear a word from our sponsors. We'll be right back. Don't you go away.
Are you a pirate or a pack rat? Do you have a vacation of a lifetime sitting in the attic? Or a college tuition hung on a wall? Or is a fabulous retirement hidden in your jewelry box? Bring those items to Sharp Facets Gallery. We can establish value and buy from you or sell for you. And so ends another chapter at Sharp Facets Gallery, 72 Bypass, and on the web, sharpfacets.com.
Oh, that's right. We're right back here at Sharp Facets Gallery. Let's see, we just had a call in. Hey, if you've got a call for Jerry, this is your opportunity. Give us a call, 229-7984. That's 229-7984. And after Jerry gets off the air, if you want to give him a call, he answers the phone piece. And what's that telephone number?
The telephone number is 993-0751.
Okay, so you can give him a call. You also do have a website.
We do have a website. I have a website for the office. It's www.scsolicitor8.org.
Okay.
And am I allowed to give my campaign?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, my campaign website. And I encourage everybody to look at this because it gives my background and also a number of things that we have accomplished in the office. It's www.peaceforsolicitor.com.
All right, so check that out, folks. And if you want to give us a call while we're right here on the air, don't hesitate to call us 229-7984. That's 229-7984. But let's see, we just had a call from Charlie Masson. He said his robber spent over 1 year free, pled the day of the trial, but got 3 years when he would have got 1 year on a plea bargain.
Right. Let me talk about remaining free first, because people, like say, there's a misapprehension of our role in bond. The solicitor's office has absolutely nothing to do with a bond unless it's an offense that carries life or death, which is only 2 or 3 offenses, and those are handled in General Sessions Court. Other than those offenses, bond is held in Magistrate's Court. In the 107 years of the existence of the 8th Circuit as these 4 counties, the Solicitor's Office has never handled bonds in Magistrate's Court. Now, under both the state constitution and the U.S. Constitution, a defendant is entitled to bond, unless it can be shown that the defendant's a flight risk or a danger to the community. Now, in South Carolina, you're actually, by statute, you're entitled to a personal recognizance bond, which means you don't put up any money. You're just obligated to pay money if you don't show up to court. You're entitled to a personal recognizance bond unless the judge can find you're a flight risk or a danger to the community. And that's one misunderstanding that people have. They think if a person commits a crime, he ought to be in jail until it's handled, but that's not what the Constitution provides for or requires. So that's the first part of it. The second part of it, we negotiate on cases and make recommendations. And we do that because we have 6,500 to 7,000 cases and 60 to 62 weeks of court a year. You can't handle every case. You can't try every case. And so that causes you to try to negotiate them in some manner. And what we'll do is make an offer on a case. And if they don't take the offer, then we prepare the case for trial, and we generally require them to plead straight up. Well, our hope and our desire is they do get more time than we have offered.
Sure.
And most of the time they do, but there's this aggravating thing. Sometimes they get less time, which just drives us to distraction. We might be offering 5 years, and they say, nope, I'm not taking 5 years, I want a trial. We get there with the jury. They say, I'm going to plead straight up, and they do, and they get 3. So, it works both ways.
Why isn't there more consistency, Jerry?
Well, there's not more consistency because we have different judges.
That goes to that personal interpretation?
Exactly. Yeah, and different judges have different sentencing philosophies, and really for our court system to work, you need different sentencing philosophies. And I know the judges who come in, they think about it, and they give the sentence that they think is the appropriate sentence. We had the misfortune here in the 8th Circuit of both our resident circuit court judges dying, and it takes a while to replace them. So there was a time where we had between 18 and 20 judges from outside the circuit. We would have a visiting judge come in, and they would just be here for a week, and that was really a nightmare because it made it difficult for us to call cases for trial, because if you had a judge who came in and didn't want to try a case, all they had to do was continue it. And there's nothing more frustrating than to spend your time to prepare a serious case for trial and have all the witnesses ready to go and be there ready to go and have a continuance granted. But it's just one of the frustrations that you deal with.
Now, we've talked about your staff. You actually have, I think you told me, 11 prosecutors?
We have 11 prosecutors who handle General Sessions Court, and you talk about doing an outstanding job. The national standard for prosecutors is 250 cases a year. So you handle 250 cases a year as a prosecutor. You're doing good. Our prosecutors average over 600 cases per attorney per year. That's among the best in the state. And that tells you...
Is that too many?
Well, it means they work hard. You can't be lazy and handle 600 cases a year. It means they're working nights or they're working weekends and they're doing a yeoman's job getting it done. And with 600 cases a year, I mean that's a tremendous number of cases. And I think it shows that our efficiency is only limited by our funding. I mean, we have had funding challenges for the last 3 or 4 years. I'm short one attorney in General Sessions Court. We've been short in Lawrence and Newberry for 2 years. And if I had that one more person, then we would have the ability to knock 400 to 600 cases off the backlog. Right now, we're staying pretty even.
Sure.
You know, 11 prosecutors. We get between 6,500, 7,000 cases. The last 4 years, we've stayed pretty even.
Now, how does the Eighth Circuit stack up against the rest of the state?
Well, I mean, you know, we're better than some, not as good as some. I mean, it's just, yeah. I think what you see, the larger circuits that get their funding from the counties that have a large tax base, and I'll just, you know, Greenville Pickens is
Okay.
probably the best example. The Eighth Circuit gets about 54% of its funding from the state.
Okay.
And so state funding means a lot to us. The Sixth Circuit, which is another small circuit, gets about 98% of its funding from the state, so it's significant to them. And so when the state issues a cut, it's significant. Well, the 13th Circuit, Greenville and Pickens, probably gets 18% of its budget from the state. So it's not as big a deal when there's a budget cut. And so funding makes a difference.
Absolutely. Now, of course, you have added some great programs. We need to just mention those. I mean, these are things that you have worked on. The drug court.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I did when I went around to the other circuits is say, okay, what programs do you have? What can we do to be more effective and more efficient? And over 70% of our docket has a foundation in drugs. People are breaking into houses, they're breaking into cars, they're writing checks, they're stealing, they're doing things to get money to buy drugs. If there was a way to get a hold of the drug problem, that would help us
In the solicitor's office.
Yeah, exactly. Decrease the number of cases we have on the docket. So one of the things that we did was establish a drug court. And this is something that allows a person who has a problem with drugs to go through a very intensive program to try to beat their habit. And it's a great program. We have 2 levels. Level 1 it is an 18-month program. They're required to undergo drug counseling. We require them to plead guilty. They actually plead guilty and get a sentence. The sentence is suspended until they complete drug court, which means if they don't complete it, they're just hauled off to SCDC. Don't pass go, don't collect $200. They just take them down to prison. So they have to be serious about it. We're fortunate in the 8th Circuit because Judge Frank Addy is our drug court judge.
And he still does that.
He still does it. Yeah, he did it as probate judge, and when he ascended to the circuit court bench, he continued to do it. He has a passion for it. He doesn't get paid for it. He does this on his own time. But it's his way to serve the community. And every Tuesday night, he'll be over in the courtroom at 4:30, and it usually lasts about an hour and a half, 4:30 to 6, dealing with the folks who are in drug court. The biggest deficiency that we have with drug court is it costs the individual to go through it. We don't have the funding to pay for the counseling, so it limits.
Able to pay for it
Exactly, yeah. So it limits our pool. And now the state is looking at establishing a statewide drug court with the same requirements in every circuit. And it's being considered. Nothing will pass this year, but it's started, so we'll see how that develops.
All right, so we've got the drug court, and then this one I don't think we'd ever really talked about this one, but the alcohol education program.
The alcohol education program is a fantastic program. It's established. The participants are between 17 and under 21, and anyone in that group who has an alcohol-related offense. Most of them are minor in possessions. They go to these parties after football games or whatever and drink beer and they get caught. but it can be any alcohol-related offense. You get drunk, you get in a fight, that would qualify too. It's any alcohol-related offense except DUI. And they have to do community service, they go through counseling. Two important and critical parts of it. One is the Highway Patrol comes in and gives a 2-hour class, and then we have this program called Live at 25. And this is to get their attention and show these teenagers or young folks the dangers of drinking alcohol. When you're that young, you've got a stupid gene, and you don't know when that stupid gene's going to kick in. And one of the reasons I started it, not so much for the kids, was for the parents, because if you're in college, you get an alcohol-related offense, you lose the Hope Life Scholarship.
You're done.
If you're in a high school and you get a conviction, then you don't qualify. And so that impacts on the parents. So, the big picture, we're doing it for everybody, but I did it as much for the parents as I did for the kids.
So if they make it through this program, then it's it's not on their record.
Exactly. If they make it through the program, then that offense is expunged, and it doesn't impact on them going to school.
Sure. Now, I know you just added some new for... what's that one I never can remember that I like so much? Arbitration. There you go. I love that program. And you just had Don was on, and we talked some about that. And you just had a new group that...
That's right. The arbitration program is one of the most probably the most successful intervention program that we have. And it's for juveniles. It's kind of like a juvenile pretrial intervention. But the arbitrators meet with the offender and the victim, if there's a victim, and the offender's parents, and they sit down and discuss it, and the arbitrator comes up with a number of things that the offender has to do. It might be write a letter of apology, counseling, restitution, just a number of things. But like I say, the success rate is over 92%, which means 92% of the people who go through that program don't reoffend within 2 to 3 years. It's a great program. We could not do it without volunteers, and Dawn has this class a couple of times a year.
Just graduated.
A great group, a large group. So it is an important program, and the people who come in and do it have a passion to serve the community.
You have to say that with your whole staff there, because not only do they do your prosecutors and everything, but your administrative people. The Cinderella Project. Look at all the things that happen there. Your Christmas programs. The people that work for you. Do you tell them they have to be involved in the community?
I do not. I don't have to.
Okay.
All of these folks. They have a passion to serve the people, and we have their members of Rotary, Kiwanis, the Cinderella Project. They do a number of things. They volunteer for things to serve the community, and I couldn't be more proud of them and their passion to do what's right. But being in the solicitor's office is not easy, because I don't make a decision that doesn't make somebody mad.
Yeah, I would say that's probably true.
Exactly. And so people get mad, and law enforcement will get mad because we don't do exactly what they want to do in a case. A victim will get mad because we don't do exactly what they want done in a case. But they're looking at one particular case, and we have to look at that particular case against all the other cases. And we want to get as close to what they want done as we can, but we can't always do that. And sometimes what they want may not be justice. And that's our job. In the end, our job as prosecutors is to do justice. And sometimes justice means somebody goes to jail for a long time. Sometimes justice means they get probation. Sometimes justice means they go into an intervention program. And sometimes justice means that the case is dismissed. And so we want to work with everybody. Our victim advocates are dedicated to making this process as easy as they can for victims. It's not easy being a victim.
No.
It's just not easy. and they
And
try
sometimes
to.
they can't move as fast as they would like, or even as I'm sure you would like to move it.
Yeah, we never move as fast as we would like. And one of the things now built in, we've adopted this diversified case management program, which has added the time. A good example is somebody arrested today would have an initial appearance date probably in early August and a docket appearance date 2 months after that. So there's 4 or 5 months already built into delay. So it is not as fast as we want it to be, maybe not as fast as we need it to be. But the number of cases we have with the staff we had, it's just astounding. The 3 years before I was solicitor, we averaged 5,100 cases a year. Mm-hmm. My first 3 years, we averaged 6,100 cases a year, followed by 6,500, 6,900. Last year, we had 6,800. This year, we'll have between 6,500 and 7,000. And that's a tremendous increase. To put it in perspective, Abbeville and Newberry, our smallest counties, usually have between 600 and 800 cases a year. So it's like having 1 or 2 small counties, and we're not getting any more funding, and so
may get less.
May get less. We'll probably get less just because of the difference in the census numbers. But whatever the challenge is, we will meet that challenge, and we will do everything we can do to make sure justice is done.
Absolutely. I think another thing that needs to be addressed is that you are only one part of this. You are the solicitor's office, but you've got the defendants, you've got the attorneys, and you have the judge that has to put his 2 cents worth in there too, along with a jury. And hey, you're listening to WCRS right here in Greenwood. I'll let you respond. Go ahead.
Well, you're right. There are a lot of pieces to this puzzle. And, I'm up there at the top, and I'm the one out in public, and I'm the one that has a bullseye on his back. But that's just part of doing the job. And, I think we do a good job of trying to educate the public and letting them know why things work like they do. It's not a perfect system, but I've spent 9 years in Europe, and I've seen their system in a number of different countries. And although ours is not a perfect system, it's a doggone good system compared to some of the ones I have seen.
Absolutely. But we just had a call. We're going to go over here for just a second. Trey Wallace, he goes, I'm not sure I would want to work there, the solicitor's office, but they must really like working for you. Is it possible for you to lobby more money or have our reps lobby?
Yeah, we're extremely fortunate because Representative Mike Pitts is the chairman of our budget subcommittee.
That's a good one.
No question, and he fights hard to get us every cent that he can get. The problem is just like you have one case and you compare that case against the entire docket. Well, we're only one small agency competing with funding from a number of different agencies. And if it weren't for Mike Pitts, we would probably get less money than we're getting. So he's done an outstanding job. But the solicitors as a whole, we're down there trying to get all the money we can to do the things that we want. We're part of a core group. Mm-hmm. We're a core function of government. Education, law enforcement, and prosecution. That's just the core function, along with the defense counsel. They need funding too. If we're going to call more cases for trial, they need funding to have the lawyers to be able to handle the other side. But we're a core function of government, and we fight hard to get every cent that we can get.
Absolutely. Now, Jerry, just in closing here, anything else you'd like to say here today? I think we've covered a lot of ground, but anything else you'd like to say here today?
Well, this is an election year. Being solicitor is a highlight of my legal career. I've had 2 jobs in my adult life. One was the honor of serving my country for 20 years. The second has been the privilege of serving the people of the 8th Circuit for the last 15 years. And I'd like the opportunity to continue to serve the people of the 8th Circuit. And I'm serious, if anybody has a question about any case, my phone number is 993-0751. And I asked them to call me because sometimes you hear, people just get a slap on the wrist, or people get probation, or people get time served. Call me with the name of that person, and I'll look it up, and I'll call you, and explain why something happened in that particular case. And it's important because if we didn't do what was right in the case, if it was a problem that we're creating, we need to be able to correct it before it becomes systemic. But I can guarantee you this, every person in the 8th Circuit Solicitor's Office has their eye on seeking justice, and they will work whatever hours it takes to try to achieve justice. And again, this is a great opportunity, and I appreciate being solicitor.
Absolutely. And that telephone number, Peace?
Telephone number is 993-0751. And I'd ask people, I tell people, call me anytime. I'm a solicitor 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. The only thing I ask, please don't drunk dial me at 3 o'clock in the morning. If you need to talk to me at 3 o'clock, call me.
And how does your wife feel about that, Jerry?
Well, luckily we haven't gotten any calls at 3 o'clock.
That's good. That's good. Well, Jerry Peace, I know you are up for this primary vote coming up June 12th. I know that people getting out to vote in this primary, this upcoming election, couldn't be more important, not only on the state and county level, but on the federal level.
That's right. I mean, it is critical for people to vote. And we had an election this week where the turnout was 10%. America can't operate with only 10% of the voters making the decision. We need to have the majority of the voters making those decisions. And I would encourage everybody to go out and vote on June the 12th.
That's right. And you have until the 12th, or is it the 11th, to register if you haven't already registered.
I think you have to register 30 days in advance, so that's coming up in 3 more days.
Yeah, so if you want to get registered, just go down there, see Connie Moody and her staff down there. Get registered. Be ready to vote. You need to vote. Hey, I am Ann Eller right here with you on WCRS. My very special guest, Jerry Peace, Solicitor Jerry Peace. And that's going to wrap it up for us. This is WCRS right here in Greenwood. Bye-bye, everybody.